The sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs just took another wild turn. The only black man on the jury was booted on Monday for lying about where he lived. Juror 6 told the court that he lived in the Bronx, but paperwork and court debate hinted that he might have been living in New Jersey the whole time. The judge said flat out the man wasn't being honest and might have, quote, shaded answers just to get on the jury. For the 41-year-old black juror was swapped out. He's no longer on the jury, and he was replaced by a 57-year-old white man from Westchester. Meanwhile, prosecutors brought out a U.S. attorney's paralegal to walk through Diddy's assistant's messages, some about setting up one of those infamous hotel nights. Data from credit cards and texts were also shown to back the government case. The feds, they said they're nearly done. Their side of the story could be wrapped up as soon as tomorrow, Wednesday, or maybe this Friday. And after that is Diddy's turn. So this juror being kicked off, if the guy lives in New Jersey, he shouldn't be on the jury pool. He should be in the jury. Shouldn't be on the jury. He just shouldn't, right? And if he lied about it, people don't usually work that hard to get on a jury. Now, again, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying people usually don't. So you have a black man say, yo, I'm working my ass off to get on this jury, or it's implied that he's working hard to get on a jury because he clearly lives in another state. He's actually coming to New York every day from New Jersey to be on this case. You start to think he has an investment in being on this case. And yeah, I get it. Doesn't mean he's not fair or impartial. He could be totally fair and impartial, right? I mean, part of why you might want to get on this so you can write a book later. Doesn't mean you're trying to cheat the system, but it could mean you're trying to cheat the system, right? It wouldn't be unreasonable for somebody to say you're desperately trying to get on this case. Maybe you are trying to either railroad Diddy, send him away, regardless of the evidence, or you're trying to free Diddy, regardless of the evidence. Either way, it's not okay. So I understand why people will want him off the jury. You don't want an activist juror. You know what I'm saying? You don't want somebody who has a reason for wanting to be on there, because it suggests that that they can't be impartial. So I just think it's important for us to say that. The other piece of this is that there are rumors, and this is where I need to actually get more information. But what my sources have told me, and again, I have not verified this part, is that this was the same juror that Diddy was warned to not stop making eye contact with. In other words, he's trying to connect with the juror by looking or staring or whatever. And this is the response, right? That the judge had to find a way to stop this because they thought Diddy was getting some kind of hookup. Again, do I think that that's true? I have no idea. I don't think it's true or not true. I don't have an opinion on it. Yeah, that's all I can say. I don't have an opinion on it. I think though that there's more here. One question that I have is specifically, what does a fair trial look like? What does the jury of your peers look like? You know, a lot of times when people hear jury of your peers, people think, oh, well, it should be people who look like me. Like if I go to trial, it should be 12 black men, or at least 12 black people, and a lot of them black. These are all things that people think. That's not necessarily what it means. And clearly it doesn't mean it in this case, right? Because the brother Diddy has one black man on the jury. Just something to think about what your peer means. It's not a racialized frame. You're not guaranteed to have black people or even gendered necessarily. Now, of course, there's an argument for if you have no black people in your jury. I mean, there's an argument for, hey, this is whack. This is not okay. This is signaling something that we need to be honest about or figure out. So again, I don't want to ignore that. I don't want to I don't want to ignore that. There's more I want to say about this, but I'm reluctant because there's just a little more information I need about what's going on in this Diddy trial that I don't have, simply because I haven't spoken to the inside reporter, to people who are covering this case from the inside. I have all the news. I've been covering it. I've been responsible as a journalist, but I don't necessarily have all the information that's being kind of leaked to the public, and I slowly, because if I could get that, I'd be saying some more, but I just want to make sure I have all the information. This white man, 57-year-old from Westchester, does his presence make Diddy more likely or less likely to be what's the word? Convicted? It's a good question. It's a fair question. Demographically speaking, the answer is probably less, right? But also don't assume that this Diddy trial isn't just going to come down to racial affiliation or racial solidarity. It's also going to come down to whether people see Diddy's. Let me take one more step back. To me, Diddy's guilty. There's no way Diddy's not guilty. I think he's guilty in both the letter and the spirit of the law. Whether you can have your own opinions about, we can all have our own opinions about other pieces of this, but at the end of the day, he seems to have been, he seems to have violated the law pretty clearly. So I think Diddy is going to be found guilty, regardless of who this juror is. But, one of the things that's happening is, there's questions around sexuality, there's questions around sexual proclivity, which is what you're into. There's other pieces here. And a 57-year-old white man from Westchester will likely be more conservative in some of those things than maybe a brother from the Bronx who's 41. But also maybe not. There's some black people, church-going black people, who absolutely might be like, I don't know nothing about that life Diddy talking about. Whereas you might have somebody who's more liberal and fluid on the other side. That's what I'm saying. You don't know. There's just no way to know. And so I would assume this is a railroad thing for Diddy. I think it's just an unfortunate situation. The other thing here is, how did dude get caught? Right? That's the other part of this. Because it's not like they did. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, but I will say, it seems that dude brought this on himself. He was yapping too much. Apparently, he told people that he lived in New Jersey, and somebody went back and said something about it. So dude brought it on himself. If you want to be on the Diddy trial that bad, stop talking so much. If you want to be able to write a tell-all book later, stop talking so much. Now, this also raises the race question. Diddy's legal team has been talking about race the entire time. Not the entire time. They've said that, there's concerns about the racial makeup of the jury. It's a reasonable question to ask. Whether you think Diddy's human garbage or not, whether you love Diddy or hate Diddy, whether you think he's an angel or a devil, doesn't matter. If whatever you think of Diddy, this juror needs to be blacker, brown, or something. And the judge basically said, look, I think raising race is an interesting and important thing to do. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not mad at that. However, I can't take the replacement jurors' race into account when making this decision. In other words, I can't say you're not allowed to be on the jury because you're white. Right? That would not be okay.